Yeah, this chapter 2. I mean, you watch Rod and you watch Katie, and there's like a new part of my heart that just kind of like comes alive when I see those guys, both of them. If you had to draw like a first impression, they're both very quiet, right? And then you start realizing real quick there is so much, like I hear the word deep waters. There's so much deep waters to these two individuals, and the first impression is like you have no idea until you start to walk some laps, you know, with this guy and with this lady. So one of the interesting things that came to mind as I was watching this was just this idea of play. You know, I think this is something that Family Lines has been pretty committed to. Asking the question, why am I doing something, is a really good question. It's a solid question. And yet, I feel like too often people, they ask the why too soon. You know what I'm saying? It's like they ask the why because in their mind, they're like, efficiency, I get from point A to point B to point C, you know. I want to know why I'm doing what I'm doing. And play or storytelling or story sharing doesn't fit into my why. I don't have enough time for that. And you could try to define it and answer it, but there's a very different note to actually experiencing it, right? I think last week we talked about the awkwardness of beginning something. Play has a really intentional purpose in the midst of that beginnings and then kind of like ushering into the next step. And watching the fathers and the daughters engage in that play was I'm just remembering like even that environment as we're walking around with cameras and you're watching this, and then you just see them like they start to just ease in and they're like, wait a minute, this is actually fun, you know. And especially because John's acting like a dork because he's teaching them how to like, you know, cast and like such an important part of the trip, like the beginning that moves it into the next one. So I was curious for you guys, like, I mean, playing with a camera, playing with the participants, you know, as far as teaching them this thing. I'm curious the role, even in the week, that playing had for you guys. Like, was there moments when you felt like you were playing, you know, like in a fun way with this, or like moments of play that kind of popped up that were important for you?
I think for me, just being out there is play. I mean, breaking away and fishing, and even a huge part of guiding is you're going to see the same water over and over or the same scenery. It's the people that you're out there with that make it so fun. So watching the fathers play with their daughters, be goofy, being able to get in there with them, even the why am I going to be acting like an idiot in this game, you know? And well, because it's fun, and that is one of the core values I know we have is for our own selves and for others, just giving dads permission to play, because we really do forget how to do that or how much our kids need to see that regardless of the age. And so it's just fun, especially with daughters, the older they are, or sons, you know, older kids, to remember how to play together and laugh together and smile together and be a dork. And it's okay if you look like an idiot, and we're all out here to have fun together. But so I just enjoy the whole atmosphere of play, and then playing in God's creation, chasing fish in a stream with a rod and a line and something that floats. You know, it's just when you just think of it in that way, it's like, well, it seems a little silly sometimes too until you get out there and you do it, and you're just anyway.
I think some folks have like stronger play muscles than others. You know, like you have a real strong play muscle. You have a real strong play muscle, and like I imagine like with my kid, it's easy to play when I'm around you guys because you catch that vibe, you know. And then I can even imagine, even though my kid's young, like, because I grew up like on a farm, so there was not much play. It was a lot of work and sweet memories because of that. But we did not play often. I mean, we wrestled but there wasn't like doing games together other than like board games. We didn't like play sports outside or anything like that. So like with my kid, it's like, man, I want to play better. And so I really appreciate even my time at Family Lines of like seeing those kinds of things. And I can imagine myself in that situation with my daughter. If I have a daughter, you know, I would feel uncomfortable at first, like, especially with the cameras around, because I'm not confident in like my play muscle, you know what I'm saying? And so you can kind of see that in the fellers, like, and even like Molly, you know, you can see her dad's trying to spin her around, she pushes his hand away, which is a classic. You know, there's still that little bit of teenager in there. So I think I definitely resonate with that. But in regards to like the team when we're there filming, there's not like a moment that stands out. I go into work mode, so it probably wouldn't be while filming that it felt like playing. I mean, you're like, there's moments where you stand back and you're like, holy cow, this is amazing. You know, gorgeous. But I think I often like am thinking about shots, gear. You know, you're just kind of going through the list in your head. But one of my favorite play moments was when we were setting up the like the video portraits, and we're getting them all centered and framed, and we did John's at the end there, and we decided to see if we could both kiss John on the cheek.
I forgot about that.
And remember, how many times we tried to do it without John smiling, and we couldn't even get to touch his cheek, and then it did happen.
Your breath.
Yeah, and then when we did touch his cheek, we were royally freaked out because to
Don't do a lot of
feel
kissing now,
another man's
dude.
bristle beneath your lips is uncomfortable.
It is. Yeah, that was awkward.
We laughed so hard. I think it was the first time, and it was even towards the end of the trip. So there's kind of this relief and release. And 2019 was a hard year for for all of us. So it was kind of like the final big project, and that just was a really special moment because it was really team. We laughed. So I think I was crying. We were all just like laughing really hard. So that was fun and funny. I think we have the footage.
Dude, we got some footage.
Yeah.
It didn't make it into the final cut, but we might have to pull it out for this. So
pretty funny, and it's in slow motion too, so you can see John just trying to hold it together.
Dude, so. I love that, and I love the fact that space, like intentional space, looks different. And I do think as we mature, we do make decisions sometimes that it's like, hey, you know what? I've matured beyond that, because play also has this other connotation, rightfully so at times, like it could be associated with laziness, you know, a bad work ethic.
Sure.
You know, not prioritizing what you need to prioritize. I'm kind of thinking just like us, you know, like it could be a dad just spending all his time in his hobbies.
Self-focused.
Yeah, a selfish play, right? And this is different than that. This is not a self-focused play. This is an engagement with your kids, moving out of your comfort zone. And it does feel like there's another layer to your adult kids, playing with your adult kids, especially your daughters. I'm telling you, my oldest daughter, Alden, is one of the funnest people to play with. And she brings, it's not like you got to lead the time. They lead you in the midst of it. So thank you for that memory. I did not remember that until this moment. But what an opportunity it is to move into that next layer of connection in your family line and with your kids, whether that's a daughter or a son. There's so much hidden gem there. The next step seems to be on the other side of that. So, there we go. Chapter 2.